The Micah Parsons hold-in continues in Dallas. Parsons tweeted a multi-page notes app goodbye to Dallas back on August 1st. His contract negotiations seem to have stalled between the Cowboys and the top-tier pass rusher. But in the nearly 3 weeks since, it seems not much has changed as Parsons remains on the sideline.
Does it make it harder to scheme a game plan, though, as a head coach without one of your top players?
No, because I think at the end of the day, we feel like Mike is going to be out there when we can line up against Philadelphia here in 15 days or whatever it is. And, so, no, the answer is, yeah, I feel good about that, yeah.
Without a contract extension?
I feel good that Mike is going to be out there against the Philadelphia Eagles.
For more, welcoming in CBS Sports NFL analyst Ryan Wilson and NFL writer John Breech. Ryan, we just heard from Cowboys head coach Brian Schottenheimer. What makes Schottenheimer so confident here?
Maybe Jerry told him a little something. Good to see you, Madeline. Good to see you, Breech. And I think the important thing to come back to, and we've talked about this a lot since August 1st. I can't believe that's when Micah wrote that, put that on social media. A lot of this is about Jerry just bringing attention to the Cowboys. In his mind, there's no such thing as bad publicity. So we're still talking about this. I think the other side of that coin is that you're angering your best player, or one of your best players, Micah Parsons, who's only 25 years old. And not only that, and Breech and I have talked about this a bunch as well, you're dragging your feet where you're going to have to pay him more than you're paying the other highest paid guy. Currently, T.J. Watt makes $41 million. Micah's going to get north of that. We saw that play out with CeeDee Lamb in the wide receiver salary, Dak Prescott in the quarterback salary. And the other thing is Brian Schottenheimer might just be saying this to have people could ask him about it, because he has no control over what Jerry and Micah ultimately decide to do, and he would perhaps like to think about other things. That said, I'm sure he understands the very important need to have Micah out there, because this defense is battling injuries in preseason, and Dak Prescott has struggled to stay healthy in recent years, even though they have CD under contract and they got George Pickens. So there's a lot to sort through, and they're in the same division as not only the defending Super Bowl champs, but also the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, Wilson, you just mentioned that Jerry Jones believes that there's no such thing as bad publicity, which is probably true. But you know what might qualify as bad publicity? If the Cowboys go out and lose 49-14 in week 1. And that might happen if Micah Parsons isn't out there, or if he is out there. Let's say a contract doesn't get done till next week and Parsons has only 3 or 4 practices to get ready for that opener. He's not going to be in football shape. There's no way, even if he signs a contract tomorrow, he's probably not going to be in football shape for that opener. So you're talking about your best defender kind of playing a step slower than he's used to against the defending Super Bowl champions, who are going to be raising a banner and looking to beat the Cowboys by 3 touchdowns. So Jerry Jones, even if he's trying to get drum up all this publicity for the team, this puts the Cowboys behind the 8 ball because he's taken so long to get this contract done. So it's an interesting situation. If Brian Schottenheimer's confident, this is either one of those, I don't even care. This is Jerry's drama. I'm just going to say whatever I want because I know I'm not going to get fired and everything's already working against me. It's a bizarre situation, to say the least. But if Brian Schottenheimer's confident he'll be out there, then I am too.
Well, and as you guys mentioned, if Jerry loves the drama, I mean, the Cowboys open their season on primetime Thursday night football against, as you mentioned, Breech, the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. If he's not out there, if Parsons isn't out there, that could be a lot of drama coming out of that one. As we turn our attention, though, earlier this month, Myles Garrett received a speeding ticket for going 100 miles per hour in a 60-mile-per-hour zone. Now, that was his 8th speeding ticket since he was drafted by the Browns in 2017. Cleveland just signed Garrett to a $204.8 million extension over 4 years. But Breech, what is this lack of accountability that we've heard from Garrett and his off-the-field actions say about his leadership role within the team?
Well, when you have more speeding tickets than your team had wins last season, I think that's a giant red flag about just what's going on in the organization. I mean, we saw Shedeur Sanders get a couple speeding tickets back in June, and not to bring him into it, but it just seems like it's an overall thing. If you want someone like Myles Garrett, who is one of the best defensive players in the NFL, if not the best defensive player, he's great to have on your team, but he's not setting a great example for the younger players coming in. I mean, look, everybody's got a speeding ticket, maybe 2 speeding tickets in their life, but 8, that's where you just sit down and maybe put your driver's license and leave it at home and just say, you know, I'm going to Uber a couple times so I can figure out how to stay under the speed limit. So, yeah, I think it definitely says a little bit about his leadership, but he goes out there and he produces every week, and I think that speaks more volumes. It's really, Myles Garrett's speeding tickets aren't what is making the Browns bad. It's a bunch of other things. The organization has been a disaster for the past few weeks, the past few years. So it's just a team that needs an all-around reboot.
Listen, I went down a rabbit hole of the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles. It's 2 to 4 points on your license every speeding ticket. So if you get 12 points over the course of 2 years, you get a license suspension for 6 months. Not something we want to see Garrett encounter. Here was him talking about this situation earlier Wednesday.
Well, Myles, we have not talked to you since your last speeding incident. What is it like to be in that car and seeing that speedometer creep up toward 100, like 100 miles an hour?
I'd honestly rather talk about football on this team than anything I'm doing off field, other than the back to school, event that I did the other day.
But still, I mean, people want to know about that.
People want to know a lot of things, but I try to keep my personal life personal. I'd rather focus on this team when I can.
You talk about being a leader. So what kind of a leadership does that show when you get pulled over by the cops?
Again, you're asking the same question, and I've answered it 2 different times. So I'm gonna need you to ask a different question so I can focus on this team and not this headline you're trying to get out of this question you're asking.
That's Myles Garrett attempting to deflect. Ryan, what is your impression of this response?
Shout out to the reporter for continuing to ask the question in different ways. And shout out to Myles Garrett for not getting extremely angry, because you sort of felt the tension rise as that conversation went on. But I think the larger point is the one that Breech is making. If you're going to be the face of a franchise and you're going to sign that new huge deal that you have earned, the only reason you should be driving 100 miles an hour is if, in fact, you are leaving Cleveland for the last time and not coming back. And under no circumstances should you have 8 tickets. And look, I get it. It's easy for me to say as someone who is not in their 20s or early 30s and has access to hundreds of millions of dollars to buy any car I want. But there's also other people on the road that you have to take in mind, and you have to be careful. You don't want a situation where someone gets hurt, right? So there's a lot of things to sort of think about as you go through this. Myles, by all accounts, is a great teammate. He does a lot in the community. But this is just unforced errors that seem to plague this team. Breech brought in Shador's name. I'm sure Shador's pumped about that, but Breech isn't wrong. He had 2 tickets since arriving this summer. So the little things you can avoid. I would recommend this. Dylan Gabriel was known for a lot of things at Oregon, including being a great quarterback. He also drove a minivan, and he would take his teammates to practice. Get in the minivan with Dylan. If that thing goes 100, let him go 100. If that thing ain't going over 65, everyone gets to practice safely. Problem solved.
Hey, if you're opening up a minivan on the interstate, then more power to you. More power to you for going that fast. As we turn our attention to some injury concerns leading up to the NFL season, more concern for the Vikings wide receiver room. Tai Felton left practice early Wednesday with a reported arm injury. Jordan Addison also reportedly finished Wednesday's practice on the sidelines. And when you consider that, Addison's also suspended for the first 3 games of the season, Rondale Moore out for the year with a knee injury, that position group could really use some help. And the Vikings reportedly are in the market for a wideout as the injuries continue to pile up in that wide receiver room. So, Ryan, who would be a good fit for Minnesota to target here?
Yeah, this is a tough stretch for J.J. McCarthy. He's going to be the starter going into year 2. Didn't play last year because of that knee injury, of course. He and Jordan Addison had a lot of connections on the same page in their preseason play together. But you just pointed out all these guys that are going to be missing either because of injury, suspension, or Justin Jefferson coming back from the hammies. So some names to keep an eye on. I love the idea of Breech of a Adam Thielen reunion. I think he makes the team in Carolina. It would make all the sense in the world, but that group is suddenly so deep in Charlotte that maybe he would be expendable if they wanted to move off from him to get a draft pick in exchange. Another name, Kendrick Bourne, makes some sense out of New England. He's a veteran receiver who's been around. He can probably come into a system and get acclimated pretty quickly. And then a little wild card here, Alec Pierce for the Colts. He has an opportunity. He's in the last year's rookie deal. He's going to be looking to make some money. So he'll have an opportunity to prove himself this season, whether it's in Indianapolis or elsewhere. I don't know if that's going to be a sure thing. Here he is making this great catch when Anthony Richardson was still the quarterback. But the concern is that with Daniel Jones now the QB, maybe Alec Pierce is more of a long shot because they have a lot of weapons in Indy, and Daniel Jones needs all the help he can get. But that could be something to keep in mind as potential long odds if you're looking to play that game and coming out and helping out this Vikings team while these guys get healthy.
Wilson, I had 5 names. You used one of them, Adam Thielen. I think that was a great call. Send him back to Minnesota. He could definitely be a role player there. It really depends what the Vikings want to do. Do they want to make a trade? Do they want to go out and sign someone in free agency? If they go the free agency route, Amari Cooper is out there. So he's someone you could possibly call up, bring him in, and then once Jordan Addison is back, now you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Amari Cooper. Gabe Davis is out there. He's been making some visits this week, looking to possibly sign a contract in the very near future. Maybe the Vikings need to give him a call. If they go a trade route, you mentioned Alec Pierce. I'm going to mention someone that played on Monday night in the Bengals-Commanders game. We saw Mitchell Tinsley, the Bengals receiver, go off with 2 incredible touchdown catches. The Bengals have a very stacked roster when it comes to their receiving room, so I'm sure if the Vikings made the right offer, the Bengals might be willing to give up Tinsley. And then there is Juwan Jennings. Maybe call the 49ers. Those two sides have been kind of butting heads about contract issues this offseason. So maybe if the 49ers are thinking, you know what, we're not going to get a deal done here, we can ship Juwan off to Minnesota, and that might cost a little bit more. But if the Vikings are looking for a big name, that might be somebody they ask about.
Hey, the Vikings are one of 32 rosters that are going to continue to take shape as we wind down the preseason and get ready for the 2025 NFL season. John Breech, Ryan Wilson, thanks so much for the insight. Week 3, the final week of the NFL preseason, kicks off on Thursday. You've got the Steelers at the Panthers, 7 Eastern on NFL Network, and the Patriots taking on the Giants, 8 Eastern. That one's on Prime Video. One final outing for players to earn a roster spot in the National Football League.